Hello, this is the LEGO Technic drag racer for 2016. It's based on a pro street style of drag racing car, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a Chevrolet, but I can't figure out whether it's more inspired by a 1970s Chevy Monza or a, what was it, late 1990s fourth generation Camaro. It could kind of be either, a little bit of both. I think that with the placement of the superstructure, the main cabin relative to the rear axle, it's a little bit more like the Camaro, but a little bit of shaping in the front to me feels like Monza. Either way, it's a pretty nicely done thing, and you see that it brings in lots of medium azure, including actual medium azure colored Technic beams and panel pieces, which are new for that color. I like the proportions of the thing. I like how it's got that good forward rake, and I like tires. I'm a big fan of tires in models, and this uses the tumbler tires, which are just great looking things. Dirt oval racing style, but with the tread, but just the shape of them I think is right, and how close they are together is right here. Yeah, this is a handsome looking thing. It's got the V8 engine that's sticking out quite obviously. They got the tube magnetos up here, that's done pretty nicely. The intakes, and it's all geared up, of course. You know, you have to expect that from Technic. So as you move, oh yeah, the body is able to come up, but as you move, you see the pistons going up and down. That's just a beautiful thing that I love to see. This is pretty nicely detailed up without going too crazy with the parts count. But to see more of it, you do want to see inside of this thing, and they do have a feature to very easily raise up the body, but it doesn't raise it up very far. Definitely wish that would go about twice that far up for a little bit more of a realistic view of that, and also just to be able to see the engine a little bit better. From this low angle, you can see that there is quite a gap beneath the engine block itself before you get down to the exhaust section. That's pretty nicely done with the headers there. Bring them all together into a collector. I'm not sure about just how much of an angle they've got with the end there, but it makes sense, and you know, you get those four tubes showing on the bottom. That makes sense. Got a chain drive in there going to the rear axle. You know, basically just moves the movement downward. Again, makes sense. Takes you back to a rear axle, which is a solid unit, so it actually doesn't have a differential in there. They just didn't have enough space to put a differential in there, although probably wouldn't need to have a differential on a drag racing car now that I think about it. So that actually makes sense as well. I just love those tires. Can't get enough of those tires. It has a wheelie bar back here, and this has an interesting feature. You can't adjust the angle of the wheelie bar like I would have expected, but instead, let me bring this down, the body down. There's another bar underneath, and it's a fake kind of a wheelie creation bar with this little knob right here, this little black knob that is hooked up to a mechanism that will bring that little bar down and balance the entire vehicle up. So now the vehicle is able to come back and almost touch. It actually does touch the wheelie bar back there. So now it looks like it's taking off and doing a wheel stand. So it's just for the sake of posing. So you can pose it like that, and you can go anywhere in between. You know, this is a little bit extreme of an angle, but that's pretty cool. And it doesn't, it's not too obvious. I mean, this thing is very heavy, so they had to have a long arm on that to keep it from just falling forward on its own. But that's nice. I really like that. It really just talks to part of the soul of drag racing, you know, the power and the traction. It just makes a lot of sense. And then you can also, for this kind of pose, you can also steer the tires. So if, you know, oftentimes you'll see that. It's actually something you see a little bit more in like mud, or not, well, I guess mud drags, and also tractor pulling, where the tires will be, the front tires will be steered quite a bit. But if somebody takes off and has a little bit of shimmy as they take off, they might angle the tires just a little bit so it comes down and corrects. The way that you can steer the front tires is through a gear back here. So this is, you can see that it's turning up towards the front. So a little bit of remote action there. The simulated steering wheel in the driving compartment is not hooked up, so that's not able to actually turn with the wheels. The steering wheel itself is very, very close to what's considered to be the seat there. Not the most realistic thing, but it's got the tack up on the top is what that little tile is there. It looks good from the outside. The scale is completely wrong, and the proportions of that I think are pretty wrong. It does have the little roll bar, little partial driver cage that's simulated there. So it does get the general idea across. I think that from most angles you get what you're looking at, even though it's not ideally perfect in how it's scaled. Now in the back of the instruction book, they give you full instructions for adding power functions to this set with just the plain M motor set. Comes with a few little accessories as well. Put the battery box back on the wheelie bar structure back there, and then the motor just goes right in the center. It'll work whether you've got the thing down on the ground fully, or let me find the page where they suggest, yeah, there we go. You can also make it go while it's on the fake wheelie bar there, so makes it look like it's got more power. But the one thing that I don't get here is how you're supposed to make it stop. I think that this makes the most sense to do with some sort of remote system. So put a switch in between there. Basically you turn it into a wired remote setup. Otherwise, this thing will just go and tend to crash into something and maybe turn and then continue to go. Fortunately, this thing is pretty durable feeling, so I don't think anything would fall apart if a younger kid built this and just put the motor set into it and started crashing it into things. However, with its mass, it might actually do damage to walls and baseboards and stuff. So just something for parents of younger kids to look out for if you set it up with the power functions without adding a switch into the circuit that you can hold in your hand. Now this is the official alternate model for this set. You get the instructions free online, and it's particularly impressive to me when I consider that this was built solely from the parts of a pro street style car, because it's a very, very different style of vehicle, isn't it? But it's pretty well done. It's nice and long. It doesn't quite have the proper proportions of a top fuel style dragster. I think it should be longer. Once again, the driver's compartment is really compressed there. It has a very small control yoke, the steering wheel, and then the seat is up very close. But most of it is good. Once again, nice narrow spacing for the axle in the back and the big tires. They use the side panels to create the large wing on the back. It even has end plates on it. Looks really good. The use of the stickers, even though they're not where they were originally intended to go, I think they still look good. Has a wheelie bar back there, but the wheelie bar is not adjustable in this case, so you're only able to get a really large, really tall wheelie out of it. The adjustment that you can see there with the linear actuator, it just moves the wing forward and back. Kind of adjusts the position or the placement of your main downforce generator there. Move it up and forward if you want to. I think it definitely looks best if you just have it all the way towards the back and makes the most sense, but it's entirely up to you. Once again, of course, you've got the geared system, so you're able to see the pistons moving. I think this is supposed to represent supercharger back here and intake. Therefore, I don't know what these are supposed to represent. They don't quite make sense to me. This one right here ends up being the control for steering. So this does still have steering. You see the long linkage going all the way up towards the front. So it is still steerable. I think this is just masterfully done. Especially considering that it is an alternate model, even with the striking color contrast of all that red, it actually works for me. I like this. I'm very, very impressed I'm very interested in what other folks could come up with as even other different alternate models from these same parts. Incidentally, with the parts left over when you make the Top Fuel version of this set, they also have you build this, which is a sensor box, and also a little bit of a starting light, a little bit of a Christmas tree. You know, kind of have to use your imagination there, a little extra, but that was nice that they kind of put in a little something extra. I'm sure that folks with a little extra imagination would be able to, you know, just expand upon this. Again, even just using the spare parts from just this set. I think this set is going to be held in very high regard decades from now. I think this is going to go down as one of the great Technic car sets of all time. Personally, I think it fits right in with things like the great original supercar and other things that have just been real standouts in the line for motorsports. I think this is just phenomenally well done. It has a lot of imperfections, a lot of things that I could complain about, you know, at greater length, but it's not warranted. I think that the good here just far outweighs any, you know, small things that we could see as being mistakes or that could have been done perhaps better with different design choices. I think that both models of this are worthy of being on the cover of the thing, and just has lots of great techniques used, good use of parts, brings in parts in new colors, a little bit of crossover with some system parts being used to good effect. It's just really good. This is one of the really good Technic sets that I think will appeal to folks of all ages, or almost all ages of today, would have appealed to folks of almost all ages of decades ago, and will continue to appeal decades from now. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree. Share your thoughts about this set on the whole by leaving a comment on the video down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to have a chance to talk to you again very soon.